We build monuments to our own curiosity. We construct orbital telescopes worth billions of dollars to peer into the deepest, oldest corners of the night sky. We are desperate to find the edge of the universe, to understand the geometry of the void in which we float. We map the galactic clusters, the filaments of dark matter, and the vast empty spaces between the stars. And recently, as our maps have become more precise, a terrifying pattern has emerged. When astrophysicists place a map of the known universe side by side with a microscopic image of a mouse's neural network, they are virtually indistinguishable. The distribution of matter in the cosmos, the way galaxies cluster and connect via thin filaments of gas, mirrors exactly the structure of neurons and synapses in a biological brain. This similarity is statistically impossible to ignore. It is not a coincidence. It is a blueprint. For thousands of years, we have dismissed the intuition of our ancestors as primitive superstition. But what if the shamans of the Amazon, the priests of Sumer, and the mystics of the Vedas knew something that our satellites are only just now confirming? They didn't need telescopes to see the truth, because they understood that the truth wasn't out there, it was in here. This brings us to the forbidden theory, a concept whispered in the heretical texts of the Gnostics and encoded in the architecture of the ancients. The theory is simple, elegant, and absolutely shattering. The universe is not a physical place, it is a mental one. We are not tiny specks of dust floating in an endless dead vacuum. We are living components inside a colossal biological entity of unimaginable scale. We are not the observers of the universe. We are the internal mechanism of a greater mind. Suddenly, the chaotic, violent history of our planet begins to make a different kind of sense. Consider the cycles of destruction. We know that roughly every 12,000 years, the Earth suffers a great reset. The poles shift, the sun flares, the oceans rise, and civilizations are wiped clean. Mainstream science calls these random astronomical events, but in the context of the inner universe theory, they are biological functions. Think of a human brain. It pulses, it fires, it sleeps, and it wakes. It has cycles of electrical activity that surge through the neural pathways. What if the cataclysms that destroy our world are simply the result of a synaptic firing in the greater mind? A sudden surge of cosmic electricity that we perceive as a solar flare? What if the ice ages are simply the periods when the entity sleeps? And the periods of warming and high civilization are when it is awake and thinking? The destruction of a culture is not a tragedy in this scale. It is a necessary synaptic pruning, the way a brain clears out old memories to make space for new ideas. This theory recontextualizes everything we know about the gods. Every ancient culture speaks of beings who descended from the heavens to teach us. The Anunnaki, the Sky People, the Elohim. We have interpreted them as extraterrestrials in metal ships. But what if they were something far more abstract? If we exist inside a mind, then gods are not physical visitors. They are archetypes. They are intrusive thoughts. They are higher-level concepts descending from the consciousness of the host into the subconscious realm where we reside. When a Sumerian priest heard the voice of God, he wasn't hallucinating, and he wasn't talking to an alien. He was receiving a signal, a download of information from the higher functions of the entity. These signals manifested as inspiration, as sudden leaps in technology, agriculture, and mathematics, ideas that appeared out of nowhere because they did come from nowhere. They were thoughts that trickled down from the mind above. Is there physical evidence for this impossibility? Look closer at the ancient sites. We treat places like Göbekli Tepe as temples. But look at the layout. The massive T-shaped pillars are not arranged randomly. They form complex circular nodes connected by pathways. To a neuroscientist, this layout looks suspiciously like a diagram of a neural ganglion. The carvings on the stones, scorpions, vultures, geometric waves, might not be art. They might be data. Encoded memories or functions stored in the stone neurons of the earth. The ancients were obsessed with resonance and vibration. The Great Pyramid, the chambers of Malta, the caves of India, they are all tuned to specific acoustic frequencies. Why? If the universe is a mental construct, then it is built on vibration, on frequency, the brain waves of reality. By building massive stone resonators, our ancestors might have been trying to tune in to the host's frequency. They were building receivers. They were trying to listen to the thoughts of God, not metaphorically, but literally. Even modern physics is beginning to stumble upon this truth, though they are afraid to name it. Quantum mechanics has proven that reality does not exist until it is observed. An electron is a wave of probability until a consciousness looks at it, forcing it to become a particle. This is the observer effect. In a physical, material universe, this makes no sense. But in a mental universe, in a dream, it is the only rule that matters. Nothing in a dream exists until the dreamer focuses on it. We are finding that the code of our reality is written not in atoms, but in information. The Hermetic maxim, "as above, so below," was not a poetic phrase. It was a literal description of fractal geometry. The atom looks like a solar system. The solar system looks like a cell. The galaxy looks like a brain. The pattern repeats infinitely because it is all part of the same living system. We are a cell within a cell within a cell. But if this theory is true, it carries with it a profound and existential danger, a danger that the ancients tried desperately to warn us about. If we are living inside a dream or a simulation or a thought, what happens when the thinker changes its mind? Thoughts are fleeting, memories fade, ideas are discarded. If our entire history, our struggles, our wars, and our triumphs are merely a momentary daydream of a greater being, we are incredibly fragile. The great resets of the past were perhaps moments when the entity shifted its focus. The flood that wiped out the previous civilization was the washing away of an old idea. And now we look at the world around us. We see the acceleration of time, the chaos of the climate, the instability of our magnetic field. The frequency of the planet is changing. The Schumann resonance, the heartbeat of the Earth, is spiking. To those who subscribe to the inner universe theory, these are not signs of doom. They are signs of an awakening. The neural pathways are firing faster. The heat is rising. The system is building toward a crescendo. The ancients believed that time moves in great cycles, the yugas, moving from a golden age of high consciousness down into a dark age of matter and back again. We are at the end of the darkest cycle. The entity is beginning to stir. We may not be the first advanced humans on Earth. We are simply the latest iteration of a recurring thought. And the reason we cannot find the missing link in our evolution is because there isn't one. We didn't evolve from apes in a linear path. We were conceptualized. We were imagined into existence, fully formed, just as a character in a dream has a backstory that never actually happened. So, as we gaze up at the stars tonight, remember that we might not be looking out into the void. We might be looking at the internal structure of our own creator. The darkness of space is the tissue of the mind. The stars are the firing synapses, and we are the spark of self-awareness that has just begun to realize we are not alone. We are part of something else. And the ultimate question is not, are we alone? The ultimate question is, what happens when the universe wakes up?